Last year I asked you to pray for me, and it's very obvious that you did, because I came through a very difficult period. Unfortunately, I've had a setback. I'm back in the hospital now, and I'm coming to you again, asking you to remember me in your prayers.
Judge Frank Caprio posted this final message just hours before his death, but his words revealed something deeper about America's most beloved judge.
And so I have been diagnosed with cancer of the pancreas, which is an insidious form of cancer.
Caprio's cancer battle lasted nearly 2 years, but his final message wasn't about his illness.
People think you have to do something dramatic, like make a big gesture. You can give somebody $1 million, you may not change them. But if you put your hand on their shoulder and tell them that you believe in them, you may change their life.
His last words to the world carried the same message that made him famous: the power of human compassion. On August 19th, 2025, Judge Frank Caprio posted what would become his final video message to the world. Speaking from his hospital bed at age 88, the man known as America's nicest judge delivered words that captured the essence of everything he had stood for during his remarkable life. The video was filmed just 24 hours before Caprio's death from pancreatic cancer. In it, he appeared frail but determined, his voice breaking with emotion as he spoke directly to the 3.5 million followers who had watched his courtroom compassion go viral across the globe.
So I ask you again, if it's not too much, that you can remember me in your prayers. I'm a great believer in the power of prayers. I think the Almighty above is looking over us. So remember me, please.
The message wasn't a goodbye or a farewell speech. Instead, it was pure Frank Caprio, a man asking for help while maintaining his faith in the goodness of people. The video garnered over 8 million views within 12 hours of being posted, with comments pouring in from around the world. What made the message so powerful wasn't just the timing, but what it revealed about Caprio's character. Even facing death, he wasn't bitter or angry. He wasn't complaining about his fate or feeling sorry for himself. Instead, he was doing what he had always done, connecting with people through honest vulnerability and unwavering faith. The caption accompanying the video read, "As I continue this difficult battle, your prayers will lift my spirit." These would be among the last words Frank Caprio ever shared publicly, and they perfectly encapsulated the man who had spent decades lifting the spirits of others through acts of judicial mercy. Within hours of the video's posting, tributes began flooding social media from people whose lives had been touched by Caprio's compassion. But few realized they were witnessing the final chapter of a remarkable American story that had begun in poverty and reached heights of influence few judges ever achieved. The message revealed that even in his final moments, Caprio remained true to the values instilled in him during his humble beginnings in Providence, Rhode Island. But his journey from poverty to global recognition was far more remarkable than most people knew. His final message would become a testament to a life lived with purpose. But the full story of how Frank Caprio became America's most beloved judge was still largely untold. Frank Caprio was born on November 24, 1936, in the Italian-American neighborhood of Federal Hill in Providence, Rhode Island. He was the second of 3 sons born to Antonio Tup Caprio, an immigrant from Teano, Italy, and Filomena Caprio, whose family had immigrated from Naples. The family lived in poverty in a cold water flat, with young Frank working as a dishwasher and shoe shiner to help make ends meet. His father, Antonio, worked as both a fruit peddler and milkman, often paying the milk bills for customers who couldn't afford them, despite his own family's financial struggles. These early experiences of hardship and generosity would shape Caprio's entire worldview. Years later, he would credit his father with teaching him the compassion that would define his judicial career. "In the final analysis, I'm only doing what my father taught me to do," Caprio often said. Despite the family's poverty, education was paramount. Antonio would wake Frank and his brother at 4 a.m. to help with the milk route, telling them, "If you don't want to be on this milk cart for the rest of your life, you'd better stay in school." The lessons stuck. Frank graduated from Central High School in 1954, where he won the state wrestling championship.
I was privileged to be born in a household that was poor. I was privileged to be born in a household that had almost no material possessions. I was privileged to live in a household that was from a hard-working family, and I was privileged to get the example of unconditional love and support from my parents.
After graduating from Providence College in 1958, Caprio began teaching American government at Hope High School while attending Suffolk University School of Law at night. The grueling schedule meant studying until midnight after full days of teaching, but Caprio was determined to fulfill his parents' dreams. He passed the bar exam and built a successful law practice before being elected as a Providence Municipal Court judge in 1985. For years, he served quietly, handling traffic violations and minor infractions with a fairness and compassion that set him apart from his peers. The transformation from local judge to global phenomenon began almost by accident. Caprio's brother Joe started filming court proceedings in the late 1980s for a local public access show called Caught in Providence. The show aired late on Saturday nights with minimal viewership for nearly 2 decades. Everything changed in 2015 when clips from the show began appearing on social media. A video of Caprio dismissing a parking ticket issued just 2 seconds before the legal parking time went viral, introducing millions of people to his unique approach to justice.
So what you're trying to tell me is that on rare occasions, because you want to make sure the pizza gets to where it's being delivered quickly, and so that it's nice and hot and tasty, right?
So I get more deliveries and make more money too.
By 2017, videos of Caprio's courtroom had garnered over 15 million views. By 2022, Caught in Providence had reached nearly 500 million views across all platforms, with individual clips receiving tens of millions of views each. The secret to Caprio's viral success wasn't just his humor or kindness. It was his ability to see the humanity in every person who appeared before him, treating each case as an opportunity to make someone's day a little better. But Caprio's rise to fame came at a time when his personal life was about to face its greatest challenge. On December 6, 2023, shortly after his 87th birthday, Frank Caprio received news that would forever alter the trajectory of his life. During a routine medical examination, doctors discovered that he had developed pancreatic cancer, one of the most aggressive and deadly forms of the disease. Pancreatic cancer has a 5-year survival rate of just 12%, and most patients survive less than a year after diagnosis. For an 87-year-old man, the prognosis was particularly grim. But Caprio's response to the diagnosis was characteristic of the man who had spent decades finding hope in difficult situations. Rather than keeping his illness private, Caprio chose to share his diagnosis with his millions of followers in a heartfelt video posted to social media. The announcement came on what he called one of the happiest days of the year, his birthday, turning a celebration into a moment of vulnerability that would define his final chapter.
Quite recently, I was not feeling well and received a medical examination, and the report was not a good one. And so I have been diagnosed with cancer of the pancreas, which is an insidious form of cancer.
The video revealed Caprio's deep faith and his belief in the power of prayer. I am in need for the power of prayer, which I believe, in addition to medical treatment that I'm receiving, is the most powerful weapon to help me survive this, he said, his voice steady despite the devastating news. The response from his global audience was immediate and overwhelming. Comments poured in from around the world, with people sharing their own cancer stories, offering prayers, and expressing gratitude for the joy Caprio had brought into their lives through his courtroom videos. What followed was a grueling treatment regimen that included chemotherapy and radiation therapy at facilities in both Rhode Island and Boston. Throughout the ordeal, Caprio remained characteristically positive, regularly updating his followers on his progress and maintaining his sense of humor even during the darkest moments. In May 2024, Caprio reached a significant milestone when he completed his final round of radiation treatment. He celebrated by ringing the bell at Baptist Health Cancer Care, a tradition that marks the end of cancer treatment. The moment was captured on video and shared with his followers. many of whom had been following his journey for months. For a brief period, it appeared that Caprio had beaten the odds. He resumed public appearances, promoted his book, Compassion in the Court, and seemed to be enjoying a period of remission that defied medical expectations. But pancreatic cancer is notoriously difficult to cure completely, and in August 2025, Caprio's condition took a turn for the worse that would lead to his final hospital stay. The man who had brought hope to millions of people through his courtroom, Compassion, was now relying on that same community to sustain him through his greatest personal challenge. Frank Caprio's approach to justice was revolutionary, not because it was complex, but because it was profoundly simple. In a legal system often characterized by rigid adherence to rules and harsh punishment, Caprio brought something that had been largely missing: basic human compassion. His courtroom became famous for moments that seemed to turn traditional justice on its head. Instead of simply enforcing parking regulations, Caprio would listen to the stories behind the violations. A single mother struggling to make ends meet, an elderly person confused by parking signs, a college student working multiple jobs. Each case became an opportunity to exercise mercy rather than punishment. One of his most viral moments involved a woman whose son had been stabbed to death. She appeared in court with $400 in unpaid tickets and fines, clearly overwhelmed by grief and financial stress. Most judges would have demanded payment or set up a payment plan. Caprio's response was different entirely.
I've had a tough year already. I'm on SSDI. I don't have $400 to give you on top of whatever else. I really do. I just had to come up with money for a new apartment. I'm still paying Russell and Boyle for my son's funeral. I don't know where this money's supposed to come from.
After listening to her story, Caprio dismissed all charges and fines, telling the woman that she had enough to worry about without adding court costs to her burden. The moment, captured on video, was viewed over 170 million times and became emblematic of Caprio's unique approach to justice. His philosophy was rooted in a simple principle he had learned from his father. When someone appears before you, put yourself in their shoes. Imagine it's you before them. How do you want to be treated? This golden rule approach to jurisprudence made his courtroom feel more like a community center than a place of punishment. Caprio frequently called children to the bench to help him make decisions about their parents' cases. In one famous incident, he asked a 5-year-old boy named Jacob to help decide his father's penalty for illegal parking. Caprio gave the boy 3 options: the full $90 fine, a reduced $30 fine, or no penalty at all. Jacob chose the $30 fine, teaching both father and son about fairness and responsibility.
Well, suppose I make a deal with your dad, okay? And the deal is that if he'll take you out for breakfast, then I'll dismiss the ticket. What do you think about that?
His treatment of immigrants was particularly noteworthy. When a Guatemalan woman appeared before him for a parking violation, explaining in broken English that she had been rushing to English classes so she could get a job to help her children, Caprio saw an opportunity to encourage rather than punish. He dismissed her case and encouraged her to continue her education. Critics sometimes argued that Caprio was too lenient, that his approach undermined the rule of law, but Caprio saw his role differently. "I don't wear a badge under my robe. I wear a heart under my robe," he often said. "I don't subscribe to the theory that because you were charged, you must be guilty." His approach was also practical. Research has shown that harsh penalties for minor infractions often trap low-income individuals in cycles of debt and legal trouble. Caprio's mercy wasn't just kind. It was often more effective at preventing future violations than traditional punishment. The impact of his philosophy extended far beyond his courtroom. Videos of his compassionate rulings inspired other judges to reconsider their own approaches. Law schools began using his cases as examples of how justice could be both fair and humane. But perhaps most importantly, Caprio's approach reminded millions of people that institutions of government could be forced for good in their lives. In an era of increasing cynicism about public institutions, his courtroom became a beacon of hope that showed how individual compassion could transform even the most mundane government interactions. This philosophy would guide Caprio through his cancer battle and ultimately shape the message he would leave for the world in his final moments. By 2020, Frank Caprio had become something unprecedented in the digital age, a government official whose viral fame was based entirely on kindness. His courtroom videos had generated over 1 billion views across all platforms, making him more recognizable to many Americans than most Supreme Court justices. The global reach of his influence was staggering. Comments on his videos came from dozens of countries, with people writing in Arabic, Spanish, Portuguese, and countless other languages. Many shared stories of how Caprio's approach had inspired them to show more compassion in their own lives and work. The show Caught in Providence earned 4 Daytime Emmy nominations and was syndicated nationally, bringing Caprio's message to television audiences across America. Major news outlets including NBC News, USA Today, and international publications covered his unique approach to justice. Celebrity fans included Ashton Kutcher, Steve Harvey, and many others who shared his videos on their own social media platforms. The attention brought unexpected perks. Caprio found himself dining with celebrities and even hosting President Trump's ex-wife, Marla Maples, at his guest house. But Caprio's influence went deeper than entertainment. His approach began affecting real policy discussions about criminal justice reform. Legal scholars wrote papers analyzing his methods, and other municipalities began examining whether their own court systems could adopt more compassionate approaches. Caprio used his platform to address broader issues of inequality in the justice system. He frequently spoke about how minor infractions could devastate low-income families, trapping them in cycles of debt and legal trouble that affluent defendants could easily escape. His influence extended into education as well. At Suffolk University School of Law, where he had attended night school while teaching during the day, Caprio established the Antonio Tup Caprio Scholarship Fund, named after his father. The scholarship was designed specifically for Rhode Island students committed to improving legal services in underserved urban neighborhoods. The timing of Caprio's rise to fame was significant. His videos began going viral during a period of increasing polarization and declining trust in government institutions. At a time when many Americans felt that government officials were out of touch and uncaring, Caprio became proof that public servants could still embody the best values of civic duty. His appeal crossed political and demographic lines in ways that few public figures manage. Conservative viewers appreciated his emphasis on personal responsibility and traditional values, while liberal viewers were drawn to his progressive approach to criminal justice and his compassion for the disadvantaged. The success of Caught in Providence also demonstrated the hunger audiences had for positive content. In a media landscape dominated by conflict and controversy, Caprio's videos offered something different: genuine moments of human connection and institutional kindness that viewers found deeply satisfying. Educational institutions began using his videos in courses on public administration, showing how individual government employees could dramatically improve citizens' experiences with bureaucracy. His approach became a case study in how to humanize government services. International attention was particularly notable. Media outlets in the UK, Australia, and other countries covered his story, often contrasting his approach with their own more formal judicial systems. Some international visitors to Providence specifically requested to observe his courtroom sessions. The global reach of his influence became even more apparent during his cancer battle, when prayer requests and messages of support arrived from every continent. What had started as a local public access show had become a worldwide phenomenon that transcended cultural and linguistic barriers. But this global platform would soon become the stage for Caprio's most important message. In the weeks leading up to his death, Frank Caprio's condition deteriorated rapidly. The pancreatic cancer that had seemed under control began spreading aggressively, forcing him back into the hospital for what would become his final stay. Even as his health declined, Caprio remained engaged with his global audience. He continued posting updates on social media, maintaining the same tone of gratitude and faith that had characterized his entire public life. His followers watched in real time as their beloved judge faced his greatest challenge. The decision to record his final message wasn't planned as a farewell. Caprio simply wanted to update his followers on his condition and ask for their continued prayers, just as he had done throughout his cancer journey. But the video, filmed on August 19, 2025, would become something much more profound. In the recording, Caprio appeared weak but determined, propped up in his hospital bed with the same gentle smile that had made him famous. His voice was frailer than usual, but his message was clear and heartfelt. He thanked his followers for their previous prayers, acknowledged his setback, and asked for their continued support. What made the message so powerful was its consistency with everything Caprio had stood for throughout his life. Even facing death, He wasn't asking for pity or expressing bitterness about his fate. Instead, he was doing what he had always done, connecting with people through honest vulnerability and maintaining his faith in the goodness of human nature. The video was posted with the caption, "As I continue this difficult battle, your prayers will lift my spirit. Kisha Judge Frank Caprio, Ishatru, never forget, sheer kindness, Jan love." These hashtags, likely chosen by family members managing his social media accounts, perfectly captured the themes that had defined his life: remembrance, kindness, and love. Within hours of posting, the video had generated millions of views and thousands of comments from around the world. People shared stories of how Caprio had affected their lives, offered prayers in dozens of languages, and expressed gratitude for the joy he had brought into their world. Less than 24 hours after posting the video, Frank Caprio passed away peacefully, surrounded by his wife Joyce, their 5 children, 7 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandchildren. His death was announced by his son David in a statement that emphasized the same themes Caprio had championed throughout his life. Beloved for his compassion, humility, and unwavering belief in the goodness of people, Judge Caprio touched the lives of millions through his work in the courtroom and beyond. The statement read, "His warmth, humor, and kindness left an indelible mark on all who knew him." The timing of his final message, posted just hours before his death, gave his words a prophetic quality that resonated deeply with his audience. It felt like a final gift from a man who had spent his life giving to others, one last moment of connection between a beloved public figure and the millions of people who had found inspiration in his compassion. But the true power of Caprio's final message lay not in its timing, but in what it revealed about the man himself. Frank Caprio's final message accomplished something remarkable. It distilled a lifetime of public service into a single, authentic moment that revealed the true source of his extraordinary impact. His last words to the world weren't about his accomplishments, his fame, or even his approaching death. They were about faith, community, and the power of human connection. The message changed everything, not because it revealed new information about Caprio, but because it confirmed what millions of people had sensed about him all along: that his compassion wasn't performed for cameras or calculated for effect. It was genuine, consistent, and rooted in deep spiritual conviction that sustained him even in his final moments. In the hours and days following his death, tributes poured in from around the world. Rhode Island Governor Dan McKee called him a Rhode Island treasure and ordered flags flown at half-staff. The Providence Municipal Courtroom was renamed in his honor, and plans were announced for a scholarship fund to continue his legacy of service. But perhaps the most meaningful tributes came from ordinary people whose lives had been touched by his kindness. Social media filled with stories from individuals who had appeared in his courtroom, many describing how his compassion had changed their lives in fundamental ways. One woman wrote about how Caprio's dismissal of her parking ticket during a difficult period in her life had restored her faith in government institutions. A college student described how the judge's encouragement to continue her education had motivated her to graduate and become a teacher. A father shared how watching Caprio's videos with his children had taught them about empathy and fairness. These stories multiplied across social media platforms, creating a collective testimony to the ripple effects of institutional kindness. Caprio's influence had extended far beyond his courtroom, inspiring countless acts of compassion in workplaces, schools, and communities around the world. Legal professionals began discussing the Caprio effect, the phenomenon of viral videos inspiring systemic changes in how institutions interact with the public. Several municipalities announced plans to review their own court procedures, seeking ways to incorporate more compassion into their systems. Law schools reported increased interest in courses on judicial empathy and restorative justice. Students who had never heard of Frank Caprio before his death began studying his cases as examples of how individual officials could humanize institutional interactions. The timing of his death in an era of increasing polarization and institutional distrust made his message particularly powerful. Caprio's life offered proof that individual public servants could still make a positive difference, that government institutions could be forced for good, and that small acts of kindness could have global impact. His final message also highlighted the role of faith in sustaining public service. Caprio's belief in prayer and divine providence wasn't incidental to his judicial philosophy. It was central to his ability to see the humanity in every person who appeared before him. His courtroom became a place where secular justice and spiritual compassion intersected in powerful ways. The global response to his death transcended political and cultural boundaries. Comments on his final video came from people of all backgrounds, united in their appreciation for a man who had shown them what compassionate leadership looked like. In a divided world, Frank Caprio had become a unifying figure whose appeal was based purely on kindness. The scholarship fund established in his memory received donations from around the world, ensuring that his commitment to education and public service would continue for generations. The fund prioritizes students from underserved communities who demonstrate a commitment to compassionate public service. His book, Compassion in the Court: Life-Changing Stories from America's Nicest Judge, published just months before his death, became a bestseller as people sought to understand the philosophy behind his approach. The book's message, that institutions can be both fair and kind, resonated with readers looking for hope in challenging times. Frank Caprio's final message changed everything, not because it revealed secrets or made shocking announcements, but because it reminded the world of something fundamental: that individual compassion, sustained by faith and expressed through service, can touch millions of lives and inspire lasting change. His legacy lives on in every judge who chooses mercy over harshness, every government employee who treats citizens with dignity, and every person who remembers that behind every rule and regulation is an opportunity to show kindness to another human being. In the end, Frank Caprio's life and final message offered the world a simple but revolutionary truth: that the most powerful force for positive change isn't policy or politics, but the decision to treat every person with compassion, understanding, and respect. Anyway, that's it for the video, folks. Bye.